you finally obviously found some folks to help you full time.
Yeah.
And what was that hiring? Did you have a lot of turnover? Did they become career people with you? What was the deal?
Yeah, so I pretty much came to the conclusion that I didn't know what I was doing. It was a humbling moment, right? I
I'm
had
glad you're not the only one.
yeah, right. And I think like some people out there, they just need to hear that, right? Because like we think we know
Yeah.
what we're doing, but I was like, man, I need someone to help me, and I ended up hiring a coach, and it was a lot of money. It was $2,500 a month for this person, and I was like, man, my company's bringing in like 20,000 a month in revenue at this point, but I'm like, it's like over 10% of my sales, like my gross sales,
Yeah.
And so I hired this guy, and he had built a $15 million cleaning company, and he was young. So he understood what I was going through. And he's like, what's your mission and your vision and your core values to your company? And I'm like, oh yeah, I mean, I have them. Like I could tell you like kind of what they are. And he's like, well, you don't have them then. They're not on paper. And then I was like, okay. So then I got it on paper. And then he's like, your interview packet, you have 5 core values, right? So
This is good stuff.
Yeah. So then we started doing that, and then we started going through a hiring process, and then he's like, why are you meeting with all these people individually to hire them? Like do a group interview, like get all these guys in at the same time, maximize your time. And then it was just like that quote that we just had, the being a slave to the immediate. The other quote that comes to my mind is that vision gives pain a purpose. So when you guys are going through pain and you're experiencing something in your business that's very painful, that you're constantly like, oh, I wish this would go away. Well, it's never going to go away unless you do something about it. So like if you're having a pain in hiring, you can't find the right people, like you need to learn how to hire people better. If your employees, if your employees aren't doing what they need to do, well, like you as a leader need to put more systems in place, more training, more vetting on the hiring process. So my point in that is like, make the next investment in your company, wherever you're at. So if you're experiencing in this next season, before we could see the result, and everyone wants the result right away. Sure. And once you start making an investment one after another, well, then there's like no more things to invest in. It's kind of just like maintenance at that point.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I just love the fact that our stories are similar, especially the fact that we both are in the cleaning side of it on our startups. But I mean, the hiring was an issue, and then I was the bottleneck, and I had to be on every job site to get it started, and then to get it the quality check and the system. I hired a coach as well. And I think that's one thing as entrepreneurs, we are very slow to ask for help. Now, we will seek out resources, but to physically say, hey, I need help on this is difficult, because I think it's that mentality of, I'm going to make this happen no matter what it takes, that allows us to push through and actually make it happen. And so it's kind of a controversial mentality there going on, a tug of war.
Yeah.
But I hired 3 coaches, man. And I'm telling you, I have spent thousands of dollars. I was in worse off situation than you. Personally, I needed 3 coaches.
That's right.
But all right, so you've got this business, you got this coach, he's leading you down the path. You've got this vision and the core values. You're starting to build this foundation for your company. And you understand when you've got a problem over here, you start throwing focus towards it so that you can, in the next season, lose that problem. Next season, you're not going to have that issue. So now that you've finally got to that working, all the cogs in place in the company, and it's working smooth, and you got revenue coming in, did you literally say, I'm going to move away just to see if I built this thing right? Or did you have something that said, let's move just because I'm tired of being here, and instead of selling it, it's running well enough, and we'll just really see if I know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. So like the ultimate goal was at the time was for me to build like a national company. That's what I thought I wanted.
Okay.
So I was like, we need to move to a place where there's a lot of opportunity. We specifically wanted to position in the Southeast. And I had one of my guys that was like, I really want to move South. And he was like one of my better guys in the company. So I was like, I'll take him with me, and we'll start this new thing in South Carolina. He'll run that. I'll actually stay here. And I want to put the risk on the new company, not on the old company, like the one that's already making money.
Right. You know what I mean? Right.
So my wife and I started talking, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to go down and visit the South Carolina company, like probably twice a month. I'll fly down there or drive or whatever. And We'll slowly build that company. There won't be as much risk, this and that. Like, it's just going to be a couple of guys. Well, then my wife's like, you're not going to go down that many times and be away from the kids that much. And all. She's like, if we're going to do this, like, let's just move down there. And that was the deciding factor, was we were like, we should just move down here. Like, this one's running on autopilot.
Yeah.
I am the visionary and I'm the one who loves the startup and like the build up. So I should head on this project. And my general manager was like, yeah, dude, go. I don't need you. Like, as long as I can call you, we can Zoom call or whatever, like, I'll be good. And if I need you to come back, it'd be easier for you to fly back here than it would be for you to go down and do that every single week or every other week.
How long did you keep your coach with you?
That guy was a year.
Yeah. And how did you identify the qualities of, did your general manager come up in a lower position and then you just raised him to a leadership position, or did you hire him out and bring him in?
Hired him out. He was already operations manager for like a company with like 1,000 employees. So he managed a team of like 40 guys every day. And
same industry?
Similar, like similar demographic of people. He's managing hourly workers at the time, making like $15 an hour, like the workers were, so he was used to managing those types of people, like the hiring decisions, their day-to-day, make sure their productivity, all that kind of stuff. So he had the skills that I needed and he had the right attitude.
Yeah. And so what did your company look like structure-wise? Your organizational chart look like when you left for Hilton Head?
Yeah. So I had a general manager, and then I had an office manager who was part-time. She was working like probably 20, 25 hours a week at the time, doing like a lot of the emailing, the marketing, the phone calls, all that kind of stuff. And then anything, like any customer complaints that were big, would get bubbled up to Matt, the general manager. The general manager also would do the sales appointments with the big like property managers and all that kind of stuff. And then I had a operations manager. So he was out doing cleaning at least 30 hours a week, and then like 8 to 10 hours a week, maintaining equipment, cleaning out the shop, making sure the guys were doing what they needed to do, that kind of thing. So that was like my management team. And then I had like some team leaders, and then we had like 12 employees, like 10, 12 employees, something like that. A lot of part-timers. So
what years was this? How many years, how long ago was this?
This was end of 2019 was when I left, and then was gone all of 2020. And 2021 was the first time that I visited it. And that was in August. And then I sold the company a month after.
So y'all were doing pressure washing, y'all were doing window cleaning and janitorial. Yep. So were you leasing a space, and what did your equipment look like as far as all of your assets, your inventory?
Yeah. So we had a small office that was like 500 square feet or so. It was just like a big meeting room essentially. And then they had a shared area that was like $400 a month. I mean, it was not pretty, but it was effective. And then we also had down the street, like within walking distance, was our shop. And funny enough, it was a guard shack at a hold production plant. And this plant was no longer in existence. And I just called him up and I'm like, hey, can I rent this space from you? And it was like $275 a month. And it was just like basically a giant shed and a bunch of outdoor parking. So we had all of our trucks there, all of the equipment, all the keys, and it was secure. It was in like a compound. So like our guys could go there. We had a cork board with all the keys on there. They could pull the keys. They could grab a clipboard, put a vehicle daily log on there, fill out, how many miles or whatever they were taking it. And then they could run the trucks from there essentially. And it was nice because they didn't need keys to get into the shop. So like, it didn't matter what time of day or whatever. They didn't have to call me to open it up or whatever. They could just get in, get what they needed and go.
That's awesome. So how many service vehicles did you have in your fleet?
So I had 3 service vehicles and then 1 for estimates.
Yeah. How did you fund this at this point? Are you, because I know with me, when I was starting, I would take my cash on big jobs and I would throw that back into equipment. But when I got into vehicles, I started doing bank financing on the vehicle side. So my equipment sitting in the shop is actually paid for, but these larger, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 purchases, those were definitely leveraging the bank.
Yeah. So like any pressure washers or tools and stuff were all paid for with profits of the business. And then we would cash flow the vehicles. We always wanted to get newer, nicer vehicles. Our oldest vehicle was a 2012 van that I bought, and it was because I had nothing at that point. But the other vehicles that we had, the other 3, so we had the van, we had a big like Ram 2500, and we had 2 F-150s. All of those were new.